So we met because you commented on a video of mine where I suggested that Sokobomb had used generative AI to produce its art. I ended up, funny enough, I ended up clipping that part of the YouTube video out out of kind of respect, but then I realized that like YouTube, I hadn't because I don't have very much space on my computer. Once I upload a video to YouTube, I delete it from my computer because I just don't have very much storage space. I wasn't able to. I didn't keep the original video, so there's no record of that part. And then what's funny is your comment is still under that video because I didn't delete it. Uh, and so your comment is it's technically just sitting on this video that has no mention of Sokobomb. So it's like I guess I left it for posterity, but never do that again. Anytime I edit a video now, because I edit it using the YouTube editor, because I was like, oh, I'll just clip this part out. So it's just kind of this funny, weird thing. So I don't even remember. I don't even remember if I made the claim or it was like very up against the claim. But regardless, I made a follow-up video talking about AI, why this happens, and that like Sokobomb at that point, I think by that follow-up video had kind of become a specter for me. And what's really funny, and you'll probably appreciate this as the developer of Sokobomb, there was like a psychological effect of the puzzles, like the actual gameplay of Sokobomb. I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. Kind of started to like torment me because of my relationship with the game, and like I think it was like the third room. I guess like it's not completely linear, but like the third puzzle that I was attempting, I couldn't get it, and I remember being so like, I have to beat this to prove a point, and then I ended up just being like, I can't. So there was this weird effect of like, I was like, I have to like this, but I
Honestly, it's completely fine because like honestly, puzzle games as a whole is kind of like a very difficult market to build and sell for. Like the people who love puzzle games absolutely love it, and the people who just don't care for it just really don't care for it. So it's like no offense taken if it's not your speed, and like I totally get it because it's a tough sell for a lot of people.
I thought of that when I was looking at all the coverage, all the reviews of Sokodice. Is like it seems like the people that didn't like it, it's because they just hit a hard stop, and it's not even a fault of their own. It's like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, this is interesting because like you, as you mentioned, you played it and you really wanted to get through it, and it's like you weren't enjoying it, but you kind of had that sense that you need to get it because like I don't know if it's like one of those things or like I feel dumb. It's just the third level, or like it's just one of those things that you like. I'm already here. I should be able to solve it.
Well, it's like for me, it's like I put thousands of hours into video games, and I should be able to do this, but it doesn't matter because I just suck at puzzle games.
And that's totally valid because like um it's interesting because like for Soko Dice is I never originally really wanted to do puzzle games as my like I guess my main niche genre of things that I build and develop. But that's just kind of like how it fell into place because I kind of do like puzzle games. But like after the release of Sokodice, like I known for a fact that because it was a puzzle game, and because like it's after looking at the marketing data and like how do you market a puzzle game, everybody's like just don't make a puzzle game. And then I go to toe jam, um and I make another puzzle game, and it's like the people who played it really want to get through it despite like sucking at it or being really good. We had a good mix of it when at toe jam, when we were showcasing it, but everybody really wanted to get through it, and some people were just really struggling. Thankfully, me and the dev was there to kind of like help guide them through it. Either you really like thinking or you really hate it. Like a lot of people play games to get away um from thinking, to be perfectly honest. Like some people will just mindlessly go on to Call of Duty or Fortnite or what have or Minecraft and just like do stuff mindlessly. And when they have to have the task of logically figuring something out, like that was their workday, and why would I finish my workday to go back to more work? So it's an interesting thing that like again people love to do it or people hate to do it, and that's the reality of a lot of different niche genres, I would say.
Yeah, that reminds me. I had somebody ask me one time, like, what's one of the most stressful times you've ever had playing a game? And I was like, you might not consider it an answer to your question, but honestly, the New York Times Sunday crossword, I've never sweated more. Like, just like almost 2 hours of just grueling, like my brain hurt. And it's puzzle games. Like, it's funny because for me, that's where I feel like I like figuratively and literally sweat the most. Like a boss in a Souls like doesn't phase me. Like I'm not really like it's hard, but it doesn't like bother me. But like the latter half of the Witness, like any level past first one in Steven's Sausage Roll, like it's I want to, but I just suck so much. I refunded Last Call BBS, the Zachtronics game, because I was so bad at it. I could not do it. And I asked my friend the solution, and I was just like, I could never even come up with this. And like, I I love puzzle games, but almost for me, I realize that it's become almost like a more of a spiritual feeling and like abstract support of them because I just whatever like synapses need to be fired, I can't. It just doesn't.
I mean, and it's interesting because there are, if I recall, Silent Hill 3 has a difficulty setting for puzzles itself. So like, and a lot of people, when they play, say, action RPGs or something, and then they have to stop and do a puzzle, people are like, "Why is there a puzzle in my action game?" or something like that. For a lot of I wouldn't say a large majority of people, but for the average player, I would say that probably isn't going to be an issue. But for a lot of other people, it's just like they'd rather not. They'd rather just do the one thing and not need to think because for the action reaction type of gameplay, it's I wouldn't say it's mindless, but to an extent, it is like muscle reaction memory kind of thing rather than full thought process behind it. And not to say that there isn't a thought process between with fighting a Elden Ring boss, but it's a different kind of thinking, and it is more reactionary than it is stop for a whole 30 minutes and just speculate what needs to be done, trying it out, and moving forward with that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think about that Zachtronics quote. My friend and I are both very like I don't know. It's not anti RPG. I like RPGs, but it's this like fake difficulty thing where it's because it's like the thing about Elden Ring. No matter how hard the boss is, because you can level up, because your stats go up, because muscle memory develops, there is a attempt number in which you will beat that boss, and it doesn't even mean you're getting better, especially if you're grinding souls or and then coming back and trying again. You're literally going up, like you are getting better, but also you in any RPG there's literally a way to make your stats go up. And a lot of games with like quote unquote difficulty are that way. Not all of them, but a lot of like RPGs, you can literally just make the numbers stronger and go farm until you're stronger. But like puzzle games are the opposite, where it's like it is just there is nothing. It is literally it's a hard cap, and it is possible. And it's interesting because I really think it's the only genre that's this way. It is possible that like, for lack of a better term, like myself, you are just too dumb to like to you can't do it. I feel that way. So there's a thing in Sokobomb that you do. It's very common in puzzle games, and for me specifically, it like irritates me because it's like. Ugh. But there's a thing where it's so the block will have like an 8 on it, you know, and in my mind, which this is not logical, I'm like, oh, all of these numbers on these blocks are telling me the exact number of times they need to be pushed. No, they're not. No, that's not how the numbers work at all. But in my mind, like, so it'll be like a block will blow up at like 6 or 5, but I'm like, no, I didn't use the 8. And then like I realized very early on, like I'm not good at Sokoban games. So I was like, oh, these numbers are like kind of a way to trick you a little bit. Like it's almost like 8, or you know, who knows? Maybe it's 8. And I love that because like Steven Sausage Roll does the same thing. Um, and it's a lot of those like pushing pulling type puzzle games. It's like I was thinking about Zelda puzzles where it'll have like 2 switches and you think you're supposed to like you're like, oh, I got this. I just hit 2 switches, and then the secret is that like one of the switches doesn't work, and there's actually just a third switch you're supposed to know about. It's like classic misdirection. It's like, actually, it's over there, and I feel like so part of that I had that experience in Sokobomb where I was like, I don't know, misinterpreting, but definitely like it's giving you that number as kind of a vague suggestion, and it's like not necessarily, but you can move this up to 8 times. Whereas myself, I was like, it needs to be moved exactly 8 times.
To answer to the whole leveling up issue with RPGs, um, and you mentioned that like kind of with puzzle games, it's kind of just a difficulty spike all the way through without any leveling up. I would argue that a lot of action RPGs that don't have well, I would not action RPGs, but a lot of action games that don't have a level up system would is kind of the same thing in that you're not really leveling up the character, but it's more you're leveling up the player and kind of like getting them to adapt to different situations. Actually, I think a perfect comparison would be Celeste, because throughout the game of Celeste, you don't exactly well you do gain more skills, but it's not like you don't gain more skills into like much later on with a triple jump. Same thing with the puzzle games in that like for for Celeste, you're leveling up your reactionary abilities and your ability to kind of reduce what the climb for that level will be. And I mean, I would call Celeste a puzzle platformer because there is really no, and I technically no enemies, but debatable. But it is ultimately a puzzle platformer where you have to figure out what it is you have to do, where you have to go, what the mechanics of that particular level is. Um, and you are entirely reliant on your own ability as a player. And with puzzle games, it's the exact same kind of thought, but it is requiring more logical thinking than a reactionary thinking. Mind you, there are some puzzle games like Portal that does have reactionary behaviors, but
Yes,
it
yeah, yeah.
ultimately it is still logical processing and largely just thinking hard about what it is you need to do before doing anything at all.
Yeah, like I think when I think about Celeste, there's a really good point you made about that there is actually like yeah, I definitely makes me think about walking that back, but I it's also interesting because it's almost like what you're saying is that when I play it when I have a screen of Celeste, I can see um even if I can't see, I know where I'm supposed to go. I'm supposed to go up or right? Like it's basically like I'm essentially supposed to go up or like I'm supposed to go the opposite direction of the side of the screen that I came in on. And so that goal is clear to me whereas like Sokobomb is a perfect example of like I think that's like I feel like if I had to measure any genre, I'm probably the best at platformers. Like precision platformers, I'm like I ace them. It doesn't like it's not a genre I'm scared of. Whereas puzzle games, it's like I feel like it would be like Celeste if I could only see 3 feet in front of me. Uh, it's like I can't even really wrap my head around what the goal is, or like I know I'm supposed to blow up the rock at the top to get to the next thing, but like as to how to get there, where it's like Celeste, it's like oh I got to jump here, dash through here, and then go here. I got it. I can map it out in my head. Whereas Sokobomb, like it feels like that's the gap missing for me. I see a bunch of stuff in front of me. I know I'm supposed to blow this up, dude, I have recorded gameplay. My goodness, it's bad. I just start pushing blocks kind of at random, and like it feels like theoretically, if I were to do that enough, the monkey typewriter theory that I would do it. It doesn't. Nope. It's like, and then I watched a video of a guy. There's like 3 different playthroughs of Sokobomb. And I just ended up watching a guy do it, and it was this thing. Same thing with his Actronics game I was telling you about, where I was like, I never would have thought of this. It's so clever. When you introduce the rolling bomb, it is such a level of mindfuckery. It is such an additional level of like, oh god. So now it's like this bomb has to stop at this point, and it's just like when I got there, it was truly like, this is not for me. It's not even that it's a bad game. It's not for me.
No, and I don't blame you. Like it's you're not dumb. It's just puzzle games are not for you. Like everybody has their own way of processing, way of thinking, and genres that they like and prefer. And like I'll be honest, puzzle games are not my favorite genre, but I am very good at visualizing puzzles as a whole. Because it was kind of funny because my partner at Toe Jam was watching me design puzzles, and I was just staring at a grid and placing things down, like not even in Engine, in on just like a tile editor, and I'm just placing stuff down, and I'm just like kind of processing in my head, and he's watching me. It's like you understand what you're doing, like yeah, it's like it's you do this, and he couldn't fathom how I came to this decision or this process of building out these levels without anything tactile in front of me, and just like just seeing still images and kind of processing what the puzzle will be. And that's I'm good at visualizing, and I'm very good at spatial awareness, which is why like I keep designing puzzle games, because that's kind of a stupid easy thing for me to do, I guess. Even though it's not going to make me very much money, it is enjoyable to me.
No, I get it. Yeah, it's interesting. To kind of segue here, it's a kind of an interesting question. So, I this is the first interview with an indie developer I've had on this channel, and I'm at this like weird crossroads. It's early channel. I'm trying to figure out. I want to cover indie games, but like I know like if I think about like Ludum Dare, which is like the game jam of game jams, all of the games are rated and there's a prize, and so it is like because I think I have the question of what is fair when it comes to criticizing game jam games as like as products. Like, is there considerations to be made? And like on one hand, you're like, well, because I think a lot of people argue, oh, there's the time constraint, it's not really fair. But it's like, okay, that is true. But on the other end, like you have masterpieces produced in the same time frame with the same like amount of hour, and like there is a skill level and people come in with different experiences, but like I was surprised by your response because it suggested to me that your belief is not the one that's like, oh, like you're basically, it seems like your take is yeah, like criticize it, give it a star rating, like criticize the game as a game, and there's no need to like um there's no need to like try to like couch criticism of the jam game. Like it is like ultimately, as long as you're not mean spirited about it, that is what it's for. It is a game. And I've always been worried that if I'm too critical of a jam game, that people would start being like, oh, he's like, to me, he's not considering. But then I've been really like, I have a lot of friends that are indie developers. I've talked to a lot of indie developers over my years of like doing 3 different like websites and different iterations. And it seems to me the general consensus across the board, despite my fear, is that like, yeah, criticize him. It's fine. I've never actually met an indie developer who was against me or had anything negative to say about me criticizing their game. And yet somehow, years in, I'm still scared of criticizing their little pet project for coming off as mean. But I've never had it happen.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. So there's different levels. I've been a game developer for, I would say, 15 years now. Um, and I like a lot of people will kind of put off game jams as kind of like an amateurish thing to do, but I enjoy it because it is a way for me to test out ideas that I don't have time to build out on its own. So that's why I think it's kind of important that you are a little bit more critical, obviously within reason of being critical. Like, if a developer is making a game solely to test out a gameplay mechanic, then judge that as you would in any normal game. Um, because they want to know if this is a viable thing that would work. Um, to segue into the into my other game, Ortographobia, that was an idea that I've had swimming in my head um, for 5 years maybe. And honestly, it's not even my original idea. It's this is just to give context. I have a background in educational gaming.
Is that what you did the learn to code like through Mozilla for?
No, 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 no. Like this is like making games to teach kids things. Yeah, my full-time job is with educate. Like I work with the Ministry of Education here in Ontario, and one of the things that I was doing for a long time is educational games, which is like mostly focusing on math, teaching math. based on curriculum stuff. Not great games, but it was a thing. So I had a lot of time to research on other educational games. And one of these games that I saw was an old 80s game called Cave of the Word Wizard, which has you playing as a child who is thrown into a roguelike dungeon where you're armed with a flashlight. Snakes can attack you, and randomly a wizard would just appear and paralyze you and force you to spell words. And in my head, like that sounds like a horror game. That is messed up. That's fucked. It's to get a kid to like paralyzing a child and making him spell things, and then well, bye. You got it right. Bye. See you in 5. Like that is some horrific shit. Psychotic, if anything. So I thought to do like I want to experiment with that at Toe Jam and see if it is a viable thing as a final product. With Soko Bomb, that is something that I know we were going to do. Like I wanted to do as a full game, and I haven't really had the time to actually produce it. So we used Toe Jam as kind of like a starting point. Mind you, because these are ideas that I already had fleshed out, it is kind of cheating in that like we went in knowing and like having a full agenda. Usually when I go into game jams, like I'm not certain about the idea, I'm not certain about what the visual style is, but with these games, like no, this is exactly what we're doing and this is exactly how we're going to execute it, which is why I was able to produce it that well and polished because I had polish in mind.
I did have a question. Is it considered so like I don't know. It seems to me that there is like some people that are really like with anything. There's like some people that are really persnickety and specific about game jams, and then some people are like, whatever.
I mean, so for Toe Jam, I've been doing Toe Jam for since 2012. My God, um, and honestly, like because it's largely an in-person jam, a lot of people kind of like don't mind about that you don't use a theme. I find that a lot of the online jams tend to be a little bit more very on the nose about like, oh, this doesn't fit the jam. This doesn't like I don't like it's a great game, but like this has nothing to do with the jam or the theme or what have you.
Yeah, I've seen games be disqualified from the prize. It happens on itch sometimes. Where we'll have a list of like these games were disqualified for not meeting the theme.
Yeah, so I mean, Toe Jam is the one place I would say I don't care that much because like I'm friends with some of the organizers. I've been doing it long enough, and like at this point, a jam is just fun for me. While I usually do go into the jam trying to adhere to the theme as best as possible, this year I just if you notice, Sokodice was released in 2020, and I haven't really released anything on my own since then. So I really just like
Yes, yeah.
I want to fucking release something. So I'm just gonna do a puzzle game because it's easy, and I have this other side project experimental thing. If I have time, I'll do it and see if it's worthwhile to do. So that's how I approach this jam specifically. Other years, I would be a little bit more adherent to the themes.
Well, yeah, so I have a history of all I think I found pretty much every game you've developed, minus a few. I kind of want to go through them in a chronological order because I would look through your Instagram and your Twitter to try and find a chronology, and I it's really interesting. Did you? I have two questions. One, did you participate in Toe Jam 11, which would have been 2016? Because that's like the gap that I can't see. I see. So in 2016, it's as far as I could tell, you did two jams. You did GBC Jam, you made Ant VR, and then you also participated in ROM Game Jam where you made Micromash, which would then go on to have like Micromash had like legs like that. It had multiple iterations, and you also took it to where was it? Hold on, I wrote it down here. You also took Micromash, yeah, and you also brought it to Damage Camp a year after submitting it into the ROM Game Jam. It seems like Toronto Game Jam 11.
2016. So okay, those okay. If the one of the jams I did was the first jam I did after graduating was Toe Jam 9. I did one game jam before that, and that was while I was in school. I did that as a part of the team, and I remember that jam very distinctively because are you familiar with Cappy Games?
Yeah, Super Brothers and Grindstone.
Yeah, they also made that year in the very same room as us. They made Super Time Force.
Oh snap! Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
So, as the first time, that was my first gem ever. And just watching people make fucking Super Time Force.
It's like on another level. I will say Last Alive is pretty fun though. I was gonna talk to you. Last Alive is great. I'll show you my gameplay. Actually here, let me share my screen. Just I could not figure out Last Alive until I just did this one thing where I was like, this works.
Honestly, that jam that I did do, the first one, I don't even know. Like, that game just doesn't exist anymore. Like, I didn't make, or I didn't write it. It was some other devs on the team, but
So I just did this the whole time.
it's not a very balanced game, I'll admit.
I just stood in the. I figured out the best way to do things. I don't know if you can really see, but I just stood in the corner and I just spammed the magnet.
That is the dominant strategy.
And I was just like, I'm just gonna spam the magnet over here. Yeah, it was. Yeah, just kind of, and I just kept hitting him, hitting W, and just throwing him up, and it didn't even work that well. But I, Last Alive was a blast. I was kind of bummed because, and again, I actually, this is also another thing to bring up. I couldn't play most of the games you developed because they're 4 player and it's just me, and it reminded me of a comment I saw. So I posted a bunch of images in the chat if you can see them. Um, there, there's a bunch of images of games I wanted to ask you about because I couldn't find any record of them online other than you post them on Instagram. But there's 2 images at the message at 12:17 p.m. There's a scoreboard for,
That is Sokodice Go.
and then if you look at the other image, this is a comment which cracked me up. This was a comment I believe was on What the Duck, and it's so funny because it's like indicative of a type of fan or player of games that doesn't understand indie games or jam games. And there's just like the insistence, just the comment, there needs to be a player lobby. There aren't always 4 players, but there could sometimes be 2 or 3. And you comment with this very like reasonable response. Sorry, it was a jam game, didn't have time. And it's always funny to me that when people approach jam games, they'll be like, well, actually, it debugs. I could make an entire compilation number of times people comment on jam games being like, this is a bug. And it's like, my brother, this is like, you're not understanding that you come to the jam game on its terms. Like it's designed for 4 people. They're not, you want them to take the time to design a player number like selection and then design around that. Yeah, it cracked me up.
So it's amusing to me because like this is an extra level that because Toe Jam historically has been in person. And at the end of Toe Jam, usually there's like this big showcase where you try to get people to try your game. And historically, multiplayer games have been like the crowd pleasers. So a lot of the games that I've done, like the first game I did Last Alive was a 1 player game, didn't get many people playing. And then I did March of the Rabbit, which is a 2 player game with very good pixel art, and then I drew crowds with that. And had so many people were like, "Oh, when you gonna finish it? Are you gonna release it?" It's like, maybe, I don't know, one of these days. And if you look at the jams, like a large number of them tend to be multiplayer games for this exact reason.
Yeah, because you want people to play them.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's if it's a online jam, like some global game jam, some Ludum Dare, those ones will be single player because I have no way of getting more than 1 player. Like then you'll get comments like the one you just showed, like it needs to be single player. Like I okay, yeah, that wasn't the point. So it's tricky when you're doing jams because like you want to get the most players playing your game. So I have this thing about the competitive blood in me that like I just want to get the most players. So I have a thing about trying to get the games feel as polished and complete as possible. Like in the earlier games, you see that it's kind of like half-assed to some extent, and then like some of them get more polished. One of them I didn't do the art for, so like the soccer game, I didn't do the art for that. So don't look at me with that one.
Oh no, that was fun. I did. That was another one I don't talk about. Keep going,
Okay,
but
I
like
will say
I
that
enjoyed that
the
one probably more
concept of
than
that game
you
I
intended me
really
to.
liked. Um, but I there was a audio guy I used to work with quite frequently. He's working with EA now. But we just decided one day it's like let's swap roles, and I do no wait what something he does the art, I do something else. I can't remember what he wanted me to do. But I know I just did the coding. I don't know. He did the art.
The physics on the ball is the most impressive thing about that game. Like,
Yeah, that's just
is that
default
just
physics. That's
regular
just default
default engine
physics.
physics, or like that is that your coding? I don't know. It was great, man. That I felt like the precision of the ball was what really got me. Where it's like it's this thing where like you like, oh, if I approach it from this angle, there's like a kind of curiosity where you're like, it's a jam game. Is it gonna factor in my momentum? And it's like, oh, it does. It's like I came at this ball faster, and so now it just sent down the hall. I don't know what it was. I love games. Anytime a game is really small in scope, those are the jam games that like really have my heart at the end of the day. Where it's like you could play this for 30 seconds and then get it, but also you could play it for 20 minutes because that 30 seconds is so good, and you can just like you
It's
can
really
just do it
fun to
over and
try to
over.
get these weird concepts in them because like ultimately that's it's the jam's about experimentation, so like why not?
Are all the games that are submitted to Toronto, like how many, what percentage of games at the Toronto Jam itself, the physical event, make it onto itch? Like if you had
I
to
would
estimate a percentage.
say probably 90%. I might be overestimating because uh
I'm just curious because I know that sometimes there's physical components. I've seen screenshots where sometimes there is a digital physical
yeah, this year
combination.
there's one guy
Um,
who brought in a router because he wanted to make this massive online game where everybody connected to his router and joined in with their phones. So there's I don't know if he would have put that up onto itch. I don't know how. Like
And you made one. I don't know if it's Toronto Game Jam. You made a game that you described on Instagram as Robot Overlord taunts you, and the screenshot looked so. They're doing something on a table, with like blocks of some kind. On the screen, there's a big. So can you? Yeah, tell me about that game. I'm
that
very
was
curious.
so I had I one of my first jobs. I worked really closely with a UX designer first and foremost, but she was also a game designer, and she liked to do a lot of weird experimental stuff. So she had this idea about um solving some, you're gonna love this, solving some sort of tactile puzzle while a robot overlord just taunted you and just like Gladys is up insults at you and just calls you miserable. Um, and
Was this the Killer Interfaces Jam, the
yes,
Feb
yes, this was
Fatale?
for Femme Fatale, Femme Fatale. Yes. So yeah, that was the idea, and that like backstory behind it is he wrote it's topical. AI has taken over and humans have become slaves for AI, and essentially all labor is now done by humans with AI overlords. So the idea is you are working on some sort of tactile puzzle in under time stress with this AI yelling at you, basically. And what it was going to be a proof of concept for us trying to submit it to something we have in Toronto is called Nuit Blanche, which is a nighttime arts festival that happens around downtown core. And we want like that was a small prototype that we want to submit something larger and have people actively participate in some sort of task while a screen kind of just yells and berates you in a very Portal Gladys fashion.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I was Yeah, I was just like, dang, that love the physical digital combination. Okay, tell me about this
So
one. What's
this game
this?
was something that was made during the whole Flappy Bird craze, if you remember that at all. Um, so mobile games were being a big hit, and difficult mobile games were becoming a really big thing. So I had this idea of um, basically everybody loves underwater levels, so why not make an entire game of just underwater levels? So the idea was you just um, you play as a squid. You basically hold down to charge the power of your acceleration, and point in a direction, and you would release it, and you just accelerate forward. You would also slowly sink because it is a water level, so you had some time pressure with it as well. And you also couldn't hit the walls because why not make everything difficult? Yeah, that was a vague idea that I had. I did it. Nothing came of it. It was just a little experiment.
All right. Next one I have is
Okay,
this
this was
one.
also done for RomJam. This is actually posted on somebody else's itch, the 3D artist's itch. So this was also made for a RomJam. So RomJam,
That's a
that
Royal
is correct.
Ontario
Yeah.
Museum,
So
right?
this is the first RomJam we did.
Yeah.
And so what that event is they have an exhibit that they're going to put out. So then they have these game jams to try to get people to make games revolving around that particular exhibit. So this one was space rocks. So they had a whole exhibit of different meteorites, different things excavated from asteroids, comets, the moon, etc. Um, so then we had this idea of I can't remember the exact name of the dogs, but the first dogs that went into space, and basically they're riding meteorites or asteroids. I can't remember the exact terminology we used on a kind of rail shooter esque ride. Um, it didn't play very well because I was not too experienced with 3D coding at the time, but it looked pretty. So there's that.
It looks great. Yeah. That was the thing. I was like, dang, I want to see. There's another one too. Looks really similar, but it seems like you were working on that. It's really cool. What's this? It seems like it's like a
Previous
collection
to
of
this
games.
one and the one two back. So those are weirdly enough, those are the same games. This is also that second one is also with the same project, which is bizarre. So for one of my jobs, I worked with a company in the UK that was essentially a, a kind of a LinkedIn for grads, for new grads from universities. And what they had you doing was like it's standard LinkedIn, but some companies would also pay uh, to for games to be put into this app as well. Yeah, it's very wild. So the one that
I such that's like such a terrible idea. Like not the games, but just trying to
it's
combine them
okay.
just
So
seems so
the
like
intent
I don't
is
know.
there's all these games had high scores, and the idea is they would run these games for a limited amount of time, and whoever got the highest score would score like an interview. No need for submitting of a resume,
Oh my
and they like
god.
different prizes, but that was the goal.
It just seems so goofy. Like this math one,
Okay,
did it
so
get
this
harder or
this
was it
game
just like
itself was made for Ernst and Young. If you're familiar with that company, it's EY is their company. It's what they're known as internationally, but it's short for Ernst and Young. This essentially was a WarioWare style game, and believe it or not, this was made in a weekend. So this is
by you? Yeah, it's really impressive. I just like the implementation of it is what
yeah,
has me
so it's
really
like okay,
confused.
so the intent is they were trying to sell that different types of people working together build a community better. So if you go back to the first screenshot, um that is like it's starting off as a city builder kind of deal where you basically as you do tasks you can upgrade certain things depending on the category that you picked. If you go back to the the games one, if you notice there's like build a strength, you can choose between the different types of strengths and that would essentially choose the category of mini game that you're playing. So like the car one and the one with water is a reaction game where you had to like react somehow. And then there's logic, which is the math one. Um, just I was super time crunched on this one. Basically, I was given.
I know, I can see. Did you feel like you were able to express any creativity in this project or was it
So
like job's
this
a
one,
job?
they basically gave me an outline of what they wanted, and I had a week to pitch. And then ideally I would have had a week to build the game entirely. Um, but this one, they're like, because I had other games in process, and my boss told me like you can take some time and like not focus on this. And then they came back to me like we needed this yesterday. I fucking pumped this out.
Insane. Do you remember how much you got paid for that, if you don't mind
I'm
sharing?
still owed money for this one, so it hasn't been released. So
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it just seemed like I don't know exactly what it was. It was more just like going through your games. They all have they all feel inspired. Like they all feel like artistically motivated. And this was the one where I was like, man, it feels very corporate, you know. And the fact that you said you made it on a time crunch. No, it's not that. I think the game is impressive. It's like it's such a it has just like a I mean, yeah, when you explained like the time crunch you were under, what you made is extremely impressive. It's more just like looking at it, I was like, I it everything you said makes sense. I was like, I feel like this was like a genuine, earnest attempt at a good game, and then it was had this like corporate foil around it. I feel like that's often what happens, right? Sometimes is somebody like you'll take good game designers and they're like they're put into like boxes and almost feels like, and it's like, look, it's not the designer's fault. Like he made the best of this box, but that he could. It's the coolest box. But yeah, let's I'll just keep going through these. There was one you made, Brothers in Arms.
this evolved into Micro Mash, because originally when we posted it, everybody thought like we didn't. I'm not a first person shooter gamer, but Brothers in Arms is apparently a first person shooter. It's an existing one, so we couldn't use the name Brothers in Arms because everybody assumed it was some sort of first person action shooter game. So what we ended up doing was like if you look at Micro Mash, essentially it's a game where you play as a single cell with multiple arms and you're all competing.
Right, yeah, with the really cool physics thing. Like it seems like you worked on that for a while. I know there was one Instagram post you had that was like it seemed like it was just purely testing the physics of like the orbs like moving around in conjunction with each other.
So that game was also made for ROM Jam, and that was what was it? The Dawn of Life, where it showed it was focusing on how cells evolve and like the different processes of evolution of individual cells, and then like like how a lot of cells have been fossilized, and you can see the progress. And one of them, the ones that came up that we thought was so interesting, was something called fractal cells, which is basically an organism with multiple organism all sharing resources. So if one organism ate, they all ate. So our process of the thinking was this is essentially hungry hippos, but you're all fighting for to evolve and stay alive as part of this organism. So whoever contributed the least to the feeding would eventually be evolved out.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this with some friends. I couldn't I was like, man, I don't have other people to play this with, but I definitely here in like a couple weeks, a bunch of friends are going to come down. We always play local games together. I'm going to throw this in the mix.
Yeah, so this one we worked on a little bit longer because after game so Rom Jam is one of those jams that where you do get a prize, and we did win the prize for this game. I think another group won it with us as well. But I I had an Instagram post where it was like it was the two games side by side, and all the kids were kind of just like gathered at our screen.
I
And
saw that post. Yeah, it's such a cute picture. It made it look like all the event was for kids, but I was like, dang, man, that's when you see that, it's like that's how you know a game is good. Like truly, like when you see that many people, anytime you see somebody at a game jam like waiting to play, if there's a fifth person, you know you've hit gold. Like absolutely.
it might be the dick in me, but like I kind of like felt self satisfied when I saw like the kids next to the other game beside ours was kind of just glancing at it and just pick up the controller because they were waiting, but they didn't care about it. That's my petty ass. I don't know.
No, they're going to you always like PAX for is a great example of this. People always go for the empty controller.
It's a tricky thing because like a lot of developers who I don't know if it's an experience thing or what have you, but like they're proud of having made something, and rightfully so. You've made something. Um, it's whether it's good or not is like that is a subjective thing. But like a great example is like if you look at Reddit with specifically like Play My Game, a lot of people would post games that they published on Google Play Store, hoping that people would play their game. Um, they're usually bad, and like, and it's not great. Like I don't like saying it, but at the same time, like there's on Google Play, it's so ridiculously easy to get something on it that like there's a reason why like mobile market's dead. And it's like one is obviously the freemium bullshit that's like out there, but also like because of how easy it is to get something on there, and without any real um any real thought behind it. Mind you, Steam is like that, but they tend to sync a lot easier. But like if the market is nothing but this like flop, uh, it's that's all you're gonna see. Yeah,
No, it's really bad. Yeah, I think the state of indie games right now is actually like it's the worst it has ever been. I've been, I'm 33. I've been doing this for a long time. Like I said, I've had different websites and multiple iterations for various reasons. But all of them have primarily focused on indie games. And what browsing through itch specifically 10 years ago was so much more satisfying, so much easier. Like the percentage of good games was so much higher. I feel like 1 in 10 was like a banger. Like you really had a good shot at finding something good, and now it's closer to like 1 in 100. I want to play this little game with you because we talked about we met sort of through this AI thing, and I wanted to show you these games and get your feedback on them and try to see if you could help me define how we know that it's AI. So I have picked 9 games here or 10 games that I feel like have a pretty similar aesthetic, but I don't make games and I am not familiar with generative AI, and so I'm going to kind of go through these. No, it's all good. So, to me, what I've noticed as a non-game designer is the font choice and the color choice all have just a major similarity that I can't quite. So this is the first one I found, and again, I think these are AI. I'm not sure. I feel like some of these are like home run, obviously AI. So this is the first one, not necessarily. Here's the next one. I feel like probably right. Something about the art.
one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of AI art is they don't know how to use negative space. So if you go to any part of this image, there's stuff there, right? Like even if you go to the clouds, it's a gradient, like and not clouds, the sky, it's a gradient. They don't do solids very well. Um the text, it's
Feels like a mobile game. It looks like a bad mobile game ad. Something about it. When all these sheep are the same, every sheep is exactly the same and in the same position.
and the mouths are a little off each time
Yeah, this
too.
one's off, and then this one's like it's slightly under the nose and to the right, and then this one is they're off. Something's off.
Personally, if I was to do this image exactly as is, like those are the exact same sheep. I may as well have copied and pasted them. Like they're not different in position. They're all facing the exact same direction, but they all have different fluffs. They all have different mouth shapes. Their ears are all very slightly different. But yeah. Also that fence makes no sense, but you know.
Oh no, yeah. So there's two posts here down. The thing are off, and then there's one that's further apart. Yeah. The next one is this. Uh, this is the same game. So that was the capsule art for the game. This is just the
That's the same
So
game.
this is the game when you actually click on play. Like this is what you see on itch before you click on the game, and then once you go into the game, it looks like this. So I feel like this further confirmed definitely AI game. Not only is it in Russian, which no nothing against Russians, but like
It's inconsistent.
this one. So this is a thing that will happen. I Part of me is the font, is I feel like it, but I've noticed because AI games are so low effort and people are just uploading them, I should have screen capped it bigger. This is in a tiny frame. It's obviously being cut off. There's no question that it's being cut off, but they didn't implement a full screen button. So when you're playing it in the browser, it's just like you can't actually get to the other part of the game. This one is the same thing. So I did not. The photo was just cropped of the gameplay window, and there was no full screen, and I couldn't scroll. This is a different game than the previous one, by the way. This is Terraflow. This is Etherbound, and it's that same font. It's that same font. It's that weird. I don't know how to describe it, but there's something about it.
The font I can kind of understand, but so okay, buying fonts can get expensive. So a lot of people have resolved in like just using Google Fonts because it's free and you don't have to pay anything. So that might be a thing, but I can't tell you whether or not that's a thing here. But if you see consistent fonts throughout different games, it's because they're all using the same font source, to be honest. Like even for Sokobomb, I have a bunch of fonts from Google.
Well, I will say I've noticed Claude in particular. I'm gonna make a video about this actually because it's fascinating. Claude loves this color of purple right here. I don't know what it is, but I swear to God, it's like its favorite color. Every single time I find an AI game, it's this. It's either this or it's like this over here, this like bluish purple. It's like its favorite here, and this is what I'm talking about. This this is a different game. It like loves this shade of purple.
That blue, that purple, violet, blue hue. Yeah.
I can't prove this is AI, but to me when I saw this, I was like, I bet you this is AI. Something about like Claude loves to like over menu stuff. It'll be like a random web game posted a few minutes ago, and it's just like boom. Like it's so much, and then I didn't record or I did record. I have the video, but when I clicked on these three enter run seed, open game modes, or start tutorial, the buttons didn't do anything. The only button that did anything was the classic run one, which I was like, sounds like why would you as the developer take time to design the buttons? It feels like AI, you know? It feels like And also this back to main menu button, this is the screen that loads when you launch the game. There's no main menu. So when you click back to the main menu, it doesn't go back to anything because this is the screen you start on. So it's like
That's unfortunate.
there's this one.
Okay, I can see what you mean with the font now. Like, okay, they don't do anything. It's like here's a font, let's make it bold and add some gradient and some glow and some color. Yeah, I see what you mean now.
And then there's this one, which like I can't quite place it, but it's just like I've noticed. Okay, so another thing I've noticed is AI will use emojis in text where it doesn't make sense. I don't know about you. To me, it doesn't make sense to put the emoji in the title of the game, Ice Clash, in the game itself. And then what else is there? And there's this one, which this is the one I'm like least suspicious of, but it still has that color.
So okay, this color palette I feel like has been popularized maybe a few years ago. And I can understand the use. Like it's a very kind of like cyberpunky way, but a little bit more whimsical.
Yeah, this one, after looking at it, I was kind of like, I shouldn't have pulled this. The one other thing I noticed is after pulling it is it cites the music they used, which I was like, I don't think AI is going to cite, I don't think AI is going to credit the music.
They can't even credit their article sources that well, so I don't know. It's rough.
I noticed somebody reviewed your game on YouTube, and this was the name that they wrote.
That is my legal name. Yes.
Why did they do that?
When I registered for iOS developer account, I did not register for the business yet. So what I ended up doing was just using my own name, not knowing that you could not like have a pseudonym or anything like that. Because it's just like, what's your name? Like, yeah, I'm gonna put my legal name because that's what's on my credit card and what have you. And then they just like, this is your account now. It's like, oh fuck.
That's so funny because I was watching it. I was like, I think that he got doxxed. Like, I was like, it's such an odd. Like, I was like, it's the only instance I could find of somebody referring to you this way. Every other time it was like Tran Lee or the socially awkward, and I was like, man, how does this person have this information? But the iOS thing makes sense.
You know what's worse is on Google Play, they have your address. Like if you go to people's accounts and just click on it, your address is just full there. I don't have a Google Play. I have no intention of releasing on Google Play. Like there's no point. I made like $50 with this game versus like what I think I did like 1,800 for on iOS. Like I'm not gonna bother with fucking Google Play. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was gonna make when I tried to make a Kofi account because I was just trying to find a way to source the website, and Kofi required me to put my physical mailing address in, and I was like, no, no, thank you. I'm gonna turn up my snark like a little bit, and I have some critical commentary of the way that indie games are covered. And if at any point you're like, I don't want to comment, disparage, or whatever, feel free to back out. But I just like I've talked to a lot of developers at PAX this last year. I was like, okay, so indie developers are not as scared as like talking shit, quote unquote, like about this. So this is a guy. Do you know this man, Rogan Gaming Nonsense from TikTok? I hate this man. I hate this man with a passion. I've been doing this for a long time. He's bad for indie games. The way he covers indie games is gross. I think the worst thing that you can do when you talk about indie games on the internet is throw a bunch of indie games at somebody over a minute, and then you have no like actual nice things to say about them. You are just learning stuff. So I want to watch this with you, and then if you disagree, obviously I want to hear your take. But I just want to watch this clip real quick and then kind of get your thoughts because I feel like it just feels to me like it cannot be actually helpful because I really think he's damaging. Big Walk, he says it's going to be the most hilarious game of 2026 for you. Play it with friends will be the most hilarious game. I hate this. Are people that are looking forward to Big Walk excited because it's going to be hilarious? Does he understand what it is? Like, does he understand what House is attempting to make here? They're not trying to make the funniest game ever. They're trying to make a meaningful adventure that like resonates with people. And I just hate the idea that like if a game has goofy physics or has like big eyes, then its intent is to just goof around and like I'm already scared about Big Walk because I know like I'm gonna love it as a piece of art, and then Twitch streamers are gonna meme the hell out of it and act like it's like just a hilarious good time, and it will not. When that happens to indie games, you've seen it happen before. Games become like Peak. I think the way that Peak became perceived as like funny, like silly. I think we got away from the design parts of it, and so a bunch of Friend Slap came out after, and it was like, oh, this is just like Peak, and it's like, no, don't, nope. Peak is a genuinely well designed. There's so many good design considerations, so much so that every single Friend Slap game that came after Peak decided to copy their health bar thing, which is the best part of Peak, the fact that the health bar gets cut into those chunks. And then everybody started doing it, and now Peak is seen as like, oh, silly good time, and it's like, no, it's not. And this is the same thing where it's like, I don't think in any House marketing has House made it like tried to pitch Big Walk as silly or like hilarious, and yet we have this guy calling it the most hilarious game of 2026, as if it's just like, I don't know if my criticism makes sense.
I can understand the criticism. It is a tricky thing because I'm not going to comment in regards to Rogan, but in terms of games marketing and in terms of like trying to make a quote unquote viral hit, is you kind of have to go with the flow of what the audience deems it as, because like not everybody's going to be like a Kojima and an auteur where like he gives you a pile of shit and everybody's just gonna love it regardless. Not a criticism of Kojima, like every people have their taste, but like if he did give you a golden plate of shit, people would still eat it up, right? Yeah, yeah. But like with a lot of smaller devs, it's kind of the smarter marketing tactic to have something out there and have the audience shape it to what it could be and what it like, because ultimately like your audience is what's going to make you money. And like it's is it healthy? Probably not. But is it going to help indie survive? 100%. And I can understand as someone who appreciates games as an art form and who wants to kind of like enjoy something as like the director's cut, so to speak. as whatever the designer intended. That has become far and few between. Unless you're a triple A, nobody really cares. There's going to be the audience for that, for sure, and it might do really well, but it's not going to do as well as marketing trends, as player driven content, and those type of things. And that's the unfortunate thing, is that like a lot of people are doing well because they're doing exactly, not exactly, because within reason, not, the gamers aren't always, don't always give the greatest ideas, but listening to a large amount of your player base and trying to give what the fans want is how you're going to drive more sales, because other people are going to start seeing that, oh, this developer cares about its audience. This developer cares that it's fixing things, it's making things better for the players. Then yeah, they're going to start swarming to it. As a great example, Stardew Valley. Like I'm not a big fan of Stardew Valley, but it's doing well because it's constantly updating. It's constantly doing things for fans of the game.
I'm of the opinion that Stardew Valley is not a cozy game. That's my hot take. It is so fucking stressful. Holy shit. I was talking to my girlfriend about this last night. Dude, that game, I can't. Yeah. That was another video idea I had. It's just talking about how that game is not cozy. Like immediately it's like you need 50 parsnips for the community center, and you have to talk to everyone in town. And then you also need to get to level 50 of the Skull Cavern, and you have to do this all at the end of year 1. If you get to year 4, Grandpa's going to tell you that you suck. But you have to do that. But it's a calm cozy game. But you need to get one of the rarest fish in the entire game in the community center by the end of spring.
For me, from what I've seen, cozy tends to be more of like the vibes it's going for, not the vibes it is.
Dude, that's such a good way of saying it. That's a perfect way of saying it. Oh my gosh.
There's a big trend with like, not, I mean, I wouldn't call it a trend, but like a lot of people are dreaming of like leaving the corporate life to like live this cottage-core fantasy.
Yeah, it's true.
And like that's what cozy game is. It's cottage core, and like I think it's weird. Like if you look at any cozy game, I would say like 90% of it is cozy core or a cottage core. Sorry, like like what is Pocopia is fucking cottage core.
Oh, I know. And I love Pocopia. And I love it for the opposite reason, which is that, like, if you want to compare, I would say that Pocopia is a cozy game and Stardew Valley is not. And the difference is, and I have never designed a game, but I have a lot of feelings about design. Pocopia does not ask anything of you in the same way that Stardew Valley does. Stardew Valley demands that you do this by a certain time. It demands, and it's like, I don't have to, and like people will say, like on Reddit, like, oh, you don't have to do level 100 of the Skull Cavern. And it's like, that's funny because it actually says that on my screen. Like when I go to my quest, it says I need to do that. The difference between that and Pocopia is like Pocopia asks you to meet broad goals. So it says like reach community server level 3. Thank you, Pocopia, for giving me the autonomy to decide. And then Stardew Valley says reach Skull Cavern level 100. It's so hard. Like specifically, the Skull Cavern is so difficult in that game.
And just watching, like, I hate fishing and I hate fishing minigames with a passion. But like, yeah, that doesn't look like fun. But someone who's come from like a kid's educational game background, the only way you're gonna make something cozy is like without time pressure and at your leisure, right? And if you have time sensitive actions, like you're on the clock the moment you leave the house in Stardew, and you have only what 3 years to accomplish all these goals of getting the best stuff and to get the best ending, on top of like juggling relationships and like rebuilding like all these different things and side quests. That is, time pressure is not a good way for people to relax. Personally, like I think it's stressful, and a lot of people like actively avoid games that have time sensitivity to it. Like as a great example, like I love Zelda, but Majora's Mask stresses me the fuck out.
It's very stressful. It is not a cozy game at all.
But like Breath of the Wild or like Ocarina of Time, 100% cozy because it's like you do things at your own time.
No, exactly. Yeah, you get to engage with things on your own terms. So to wrap up the Rogan thread, if I could summarize your argument so I'm fully understanding it, you're saying that like I get it, it's annoying. He's yelling at the camera, like it's very abrasive, but that kind of marketing actually benefits indie games way more than maybe a more mellow or like accurate take on the game. Does that feel right?
Because
that,
like if you
it's still more effective.
Look at a lot of, not just Rogan, but a lot of TikTokers who do cover games in this exact same manner. It's no different than before the days of social media, where articles would just list out a bunch of games. Um, it's arguable that people don't go to written media anymore. So this is just kind of the evolution of the same thing. Um, so I think it's also the sum of all parts is still better than no coverage at all, or I would say it's even better than negative reviews. Because he's still, at the end of the day, he is still giving shout outs to indie games and indie developers and projects that people might not have known otherwise. And he has a large audience, so that gets out to more people.
So if you're interesting, I think maybe I'm just like too like principled and like should probably just like lay off a little bit. If Sokoban was in a video like this, let's say like theoretically, we'll take Rogan out of it. There's a guy, he calls himself the indie game influencer, and he's really big. He's like consistently going viral. If you had like, let's say he made a video of like, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger of an amount to kind of try to make my point, but I feel like, let's say he says, here's 20 indie games that came out right now that are really good that you should check out, that came out this week. And let's say Sokobomb is in that video, and the video does really well, but like the way he presents it like really rapid fire, doesn't really like express any particularly strong feeling about Sokobomb. It's like a rapid fire boom, here's 20, and he's like really, he's yelling. That's honestly one of my main Rogan criticism. He's yelling at the camera, he's shouting at you. He's holding a tiny little lavalier mic in his little three fingers. And he's got a nice beautiful background. You're saying that like, I imagine for any indie dev, they would say, yeah, 100%. I'd much rather my game be in that video than not. Like it's a there's no loss, no matter how annoying the guy is. I don't lose by having my game in that video.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. In that, like, not everybody's gonna like the same presentation as every influencer, quote unquote. So there's obviously there's a lot of like cozy influencers. There's a lot of louder influencers, but at the end of the day, exposure is still exposure, right? And a lot of indies are struggling to get their games out there. And to be frank, the right now the only real way is getting it to influencers and creators, to actually get your game out there, unless you have a lot of money, like, and a huge budget, which I don't. um, this is exactly what I'm doing right now, where I'm just constantly reaching out to creators. To like, articles is not in fashion right now, but I'm still reaching out to them just because it's good. Yeah, readers are readers, right? So it's like, at the end of the day, I just have to get it out to as many eyes as possible in by whatever means possible. Even if they did say something negative or say something that doesn't quite reflect the game, if it does yield a someone to buy the game and then refund it, that still is a net positive in the algorithms of Steam itself.
I get where you're coming, and I've been trying to like figure out my thing about Rogan. I guess to conclude my final point, I have this theory about this project of my like Moppish. Is that like, I think for a long time I've described it, for like the last like 2 years I've described it as I think indie games need gatekeeping. I think they do need it, and like not everyone has to be the gatekeepers, but there's got to be someone to rein it in. And I think that for me, yeah, final. I'm curious what you think about this as well, which is that all of these indie games are being pushed as like niche little cute products. I think that being critical of indie games, not as developers, I've actually found developers to be very self-critical and open. As people that play indie games and like them, the ones that don't make them, it seems to me, and you can see this all over Reddit, all over the internet, that if you criticize an indie game, you kind of get a lot of flack for it. And I think this is an issue because I think with influencers like Rogan, which I think he's by far the biggest indie game influencer, the reason I don't trust him, and the reason I think other people don't trust him, is that if you, and I've done this, I have a, you might say I have an obsession. I'm working on a long video about him. I am being completely sincere and saying this with 100% truth, having watched every TikTok he's ever made. The man has never criticized or expressed dislike about an indie game. in his entire content backlog. And for me, I cannot trust that. I can't trust you if you like everything. To me, it is actually a sign of the utmost dishonesty. And he reviews games. He talks about these are the greatest games that did it. And it's not just, he doesn't say these are the games on sale. He does that in some videos. But there are videos where he'll say, you know, these are like my favorite games that came out this month. And it's just amazing, amazing art style, amazing gameplay. This one was fun. This is the best art style I've ever seen. This one had the best art style I've ever seen. This is the best gameplay I've ever felt. This is the best hack and slash gameplay I've ever had. And it's just like, over the course of his TikTok, like hundreds of greatest of most amazing, best art style, best gameplay of just like, I have an Excel sheet where because I want to make my argument about him very clear, which is that like he uses the same language to describe every game, and there's like, to me, one of the most dishonest things somebody can do it is to have no distinction of quality by, if you don't hate anything or you don't dislike anything, if everything is good, then nothing is good. If everything is good to you, then that means
Here's
nothing.
the tricky thing is, I would argue that most of TikTok and TikTok creators don't have anything negative to say in regards to games as a whole, I feel. And I Yeah, I would say that it has a lot to do with algorithms and basically trying to one up the algorithm for TikTok specifically. Um, and it's generally speaking, I don't think you would ever go to TikTok for a critical assessment of any media other. I mean, politics aside, let's be real. Um, but like if you wanted, like, because of short form content, um you wouldn't really have the time to properly criticize something on it. And that's why any sort of criticisms and breakdowns and analysis videos basically live on YouTube or a podcast or something to that effect, but never really a TikTok, because TikTok, you don't have time to break things down to that level of detail. And I don't think it's by any fault to the TikTokers themselves. It's just, it's the thing that gets the most views. And at the end of the day, that's how they're surviving, is by getting views, and negative reviews aren't going to do that for them. Um, and yeah, that as a whole, I feel like a lot of TikTokers for games seem very disingenuous because of
It's all
that.
hyperbolic. Like I have Rogan, I have a list. He has 12 different games that have the greatest art style of all time, and it's yeah, it's just like I don't know.
It's tricky too, because like if you try to make content like TikTok, it's basically, it's goldfish memory, right? You make something, you forget the previous thing existed, unless it's the formula. You remember the formula, you keep the formula, you forget everything else. Some people have covered the exact same game multiple times on TikTok, playing it like it's the first time they've ever opened the package,
Oh,
right?
I know.
Um,
Yeah, that's very much a thing. Absolutely.
and- yeah, but that's unfortunately what works, and like that's not a problem with the creators. That's a problem with TikTok as a platform in its entirety. I'm not a fan of TikTok, but unfortunately, that is, I have like, I don't have a lot of followers anywhere else except for TikTok, and like it's gross. But at the same time, like, that's what's working. So I don't know.
So
Um,
if I were to, what if my pitch was like, and it's okay if you tell me my pitch is bad. And it was funny. I'm gonna do it anyway because it's my mission. But like, so my like, I'm gonna be the opposite. My pitch is gonna be that we critically evaluate indie games. We like talk about the ones that are bad. Like I'm willing to go for Stardew Valley. I'm willing to come for it. The fishing minigame is stressful as fuck. But like you're, and you'd be with everybody ever. You'd be, if you agreed that it was a good idea, you would be the first one to ever say it. But as a business pitch, you're an investor. Let's say you have $10,000, and I'm saying, hey, look, I'm looking for $10,000 from. I'm gonna make the only not excessively cynical, but critical indie game coverage of indie games on TikTok. That's my
If
pitch.
you are genuine with your reactions and if you are entertaining in your delivery, it could be a potential hit. Obviously, you're gonna get so much flame from that. Would it be refreshing? Probably.
Do you think there's room for that? Like, I don't get the sense that you're just saying that. You really think there's like a space?
I mean, I like I feel like because there isn't many people doing it, it could be a potential avenue. But it's hard because again, the algorithm gods are basically fighting against you for something like that. Nothing exists. Maybe that's to your benefit.
Well, and like my fear is like I was talking about the Stardew Valley thing. I do want to make a longer video about Stardew Valley is not a cozy game. It's actually super stressful. I have this fear where I'm like, the internet's gonna come for me. Like I have to like hide. I feel like if I genuinely feel like I know, like I feel like that's the kind of video that somebody's gonna be like, we're doxing him.
There's plenty of videos that criticize like beloved games. I, full disclosure, I'm not a fan of Elden Ring. Okay, I guess this isn't particularly controversial, but like a lot of people are very sick of open world games because of like it's a lot of open nothing. And a lot of people have criticized Elden Ring because it's an open world, because it's like lacks the linearity and like the concise design of other Souls likes. And like people just kind of accept it and it's like yeah some people disagree, some people will like say like oh you're an idiot, some people will agree. People have criticized Elden Ring, but like it's a very like with a caveat that like I didn't like Elden Ring and but they didn't specifically say it's a bad game. They just threw it out that like this isn't a game for me, and I think like that kind of introspectiveness in gamers is not common. I mean, I feel like in the YouTube world is common enough, but like I think a lot of people would pose a lot of these criticisms, and that like I can understand why people enjoy this, but this is not something that that's for me. It's a little bit trickier because you're questioning the genre of. I mean, cozy game isn't particularly a genre, but like I can understand the sentiment. Like, but I feel like cozy games, it's a personal thing. Like, so I read that there's like someone who considered Elden Ring a cozy game because they get to pick flowers all day. Like that's all they do. Ignore the fights.
I feel like a lot of people need to be willing to admit that cozy is simply just an aesthetic. Like if you have let's say if you made a farming pixel art farming game that was just super stressful. Maybe it's like a survivor's like that's really hard bullet hell game. I think a lot of people would call it cozy.
I'm gonna give you an exclusive right now. I plans for making a cozy farming game set in like a Silent Hill area.
Honestly, though, that is I love it. I got an exclusive, and it's a great pitch. I would love if it was actually cozy. If you as long as you don't put something like a skull cavern in to make me get to the bottom of it. And what's funny about the skull cavern is every single player on the internet will say, "Oh, just here's how you get around it." Nobody seems to actually want to do it. It's like, "Oh, here's this exploit you can do." Every single Reddit thread about the skull cavern isn't like, "Here's how you genuinely and earnestly do it." They're like, "Nope, here's how to do this time skip to cheat it. Here's how to build 100 sets of stairs to go down to the bottom." Like all of these things, and then it's like, but it's still cozy. Drives me crazy. Anyway, last question I wanted to ask you as we wrap this up: is Claire Obscure Expedition 33 an indie game? I'm gonna have you wade into that one, that hot pool.
I would say this is a hot take on my part. I would say an indie studio is any studio that doesn't have to answer to stakeholders. So like if they're a publicly traded company, I would say their indie label is automatically gone. Claire Obscure to me, I consider an indie game because they were fortunate enough to have pitched very well and to pitch to the right people who were willing to give them money and give them proper funding. I would argue that if I were to pitch something and just happen to come into $1 million for my game, does that make me any less indie than I was yesterday? And that it's a philosophical thing in that like I was indie yesterday, but suddenly I have money and I'm no longer indie. it's bizarre. It's a bizarre thought.
So if I were to tell people, my take is that it's an indie game with a $30 million advantage. I'm not. I have to include that last part, um, and that's always how I say it. Is it's I'll say it's indie, but I'm not going to let that $30 million advantage escape the part. You can't win best indie game and game of the year. You can't have both. You got it. Like to me, it's like you just. And the fact that they won best debut indie game, best indie game, and game of the year. You get two. That was my take. You can have two. Like you get two. Pick two.
I mean, at the same time, I do think they deserve it. But yeah, I mean, the awards itself, that is, I think, a preference thing. But in terms of like whether or not they're indie, I think they totally deserve that indie label because, like, effectively, what they did was they left Ubisoft as as many game devs do, and started their own thing. And they had the knowledge and the business knowledge to actually start something, but they started on their own terms. And the thing is with indie games is you're able to do things on your own terms without answering to anybody. If you are working with Ubisoft, you are pretty much answering like we need to do this game again and make more money, or we need to do the exact same thing we just did and make more money. So it's like it's less about the art for a lot of the AAA studios because they're trying to make money with the least amount of effort. Whereas like indie studios, they do have the benefit of um, really getting more into the art side of game development and delivering the thing that they want to make, not the thing that's going to make them more money. Because let's be real, Expedition 33 took a big risk in making a turn based RPG in an age where turn based RPGs are effectively dead, except for like the extremely niche
It's
market.
interesting to me that that game is essentially an adaptation of mechanics that have been around in JRPGs for 10 plus years. Like it's just the combat system is just Legend of Dragoon. It's literally just Legend of Dragoon. People are like, "Oh, there's mini games in combat," and it's like it's just Legend like just and that's not a knock on the game. I want to be very clear. It's just like they adapted JRPG mechanics, which a lot of people that hadn't played JRPGs were like, "Whoa, these are mind blowing!" And it's like, yeah, dude, good for these. If you like this, dude, go back to Xenogears. Like, you're gonna love the last 20 years of JRPGs if you loved it. But I do, like, yeah, I get it. It's just, I think what it speaks to is the fact that indie games are changing, and that we have to like change. Like, that's why I'm specifically trying to focus a lot of my attention right now on like jam games because like I'm looking for games that are smaller in scope, and like I think I can't. I don't know that I'll ever be able to reach out fully and say that Expedition 33 is not indie, like it just as like a qualifier. But it has to be. I think it's just that the conversation is changing, the amount of money flooding in is changing, and the industry itself is changing, and so like the term indie game is obviously also going to change.
What I don't like is whenever a big team puts together a pixel art quaint little platformer and slap the indie label on it when you are clearly like a publicly traded company that's bringing in millions of dollars every
Like Dave the
month.
Diver.
And Dave the Diver is exactly what I'm targeting right now. Like you're that's not indie. Like and it won indie game of the year,
That's
or
even
if
more
I believe.
infuriating than Claire Obscure Expedition 30. The Dave the Diver thing, yeah. And also, I don't know. I would argue Stray. Like Stray, it's like basically funded by Sony.
I mean, Stray is I've actually been following the development of Stray for like several years since like it they had like a blogspot website way back
Interesting.
when it was called it was I can't remember, it was called product Project HK.
Interesting. Did you like Stray? Can I ask you?
I was hoping it would be
I was
better.
hoping it would be more of a game. I didn't know it was going to be about the robot. That's what I. There's so many people that haven't played the game, and I'm always like, "Did you know the game's actually about the robot?" They're like, "No way." I'm like, It's actually. It really is about the robot. Like the storyline is about the robot. The cat is kind of tangential.
It's just a vessel. Yeah. And the way it was sold, okay, so when it was Project HK still, this is how old it is. This is when Assassin's Creed 2 just
Oh
came
my
out.
god.
Um and it was very much looking like it was Assassin's Creed, but you're playing a cat, where you basically have free climbing ability.
Which you don't have in Stray, which is interesting. It's like canned animations.
Which you don't have. Yeah, it's all canned platforms, and it's like I think like I can understand why they scrapped it because it is a very fucking hard thing to do. But that's kind of like that's the image that I've had in my head. And when it was finally released, I was like so excited and like and it turned out to be just not even a platformer. It was just kind of like figure out where to tilt the stick kind of
There's a
deal.
dedicated jump button. It's a cat game with a dedicated jump button, and like not in that, but it's like you have to specifically go to a specific spot, and it plays that same animation every time. And it was just the game had the pace of a. It had like the structure and flow of like Chibi Robo. The game is literally like talk to this guy, get this thing, and talk to this, and it's like it's an old school adventure game. It's like an old point. It has the structure of an old school point and click adventure game with the puzzles and the pacing and the way you talk to people to get things and then take that thing and give it to another guy. But it's like wrapped up in this thing that it's not, which is like a 3D platformer. It's a bizarre game. I don't. I feel like one team made an old school adventure game and then another team made a platformer, and they both came together and they're like, hey, neither of us were very. Neither of us made a really good thing of what it's trying to be. So why don't we just jam them together and hope for the best? Like, it's neither a good like puzzle adventure game, and it's also not a good platformer. It's a weird game.
It's yeah, I mean, I would say it's a good experience if you enjoy cats and just cat media. It's like no, it's the equivalent to me of like swiping through a cat video.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a cute cat.
It's entertaining, it's cute. Will I play it again? No. But like I'm glad I did. But yeah, it's and honestly some games tend to be that and that like it's visually impressive and it's like it has a neat little hook to it. And but after you see the credits, there's like nothing more to it. And I feel like Stray is pretty much exactly that. It's gorgeous. Like I'm looking at the prototype screenshots right now. I'll send you a link to this.
I'm fascinated. I had no idea that this game existed like around the time of Assassin's Creed 2 in its conception.
I might be exaggerating, but I do recall that I was still very much into Assassin's Creed.
It feels like it wants to be that type of parkour climbing. It didn't do that, but like the timeline makes sense because I could see somebody looking at it and be like, "Oh, what if Assassin's Creed climbing, but you're a cat?" Like I can genuinely like that as Stray's idea conception. It makes sense. I don't know how we got to like not being able to climb or jump where you want.
So this is a post. I sent you a link. 2017 is when it was funded, and those screenshots existed way before
This
2017.
is crazy. Yeah, I'll have to. This is a whole rabbit hole I could go down.
This is another deep dive. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was really pleasant, and I hope that it was at least somewhat interesting. Did not feel like a waste of your time. I have a list of all your games, and we can maybe do a part 2. March of the Rabbits, Canadian Nuts, Red Crayon, and VR. And I would love to talk to you about Santa Rush, and particularly, I would love to touch on Zavos, because that seems like that's like an era of your life. That game like took off. You brought it to Bit Bazaar. You brought it to Toronto Comic Arts Festival.
Yeah, I have to mention that we really ramped up that one because randomly a Russian social media site got hold of it and there was a review of it. Um and it like I had to Google translate it, but it's basically like this had to have been made by a comrade. Like that was like the exact translation. I was like, that is oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly,
I have it right
yeah.
here. I found it. I read this and it was like, you guys felt like that had to be the end when you saw this?
No, we saw it like, oh, we're gonna do this more.
It is a masterpiece. It is a perfect game jam game in the fact that I keep talking on the channel about scope and size. The reason I feel like I should be able to criticize jam games is because if I'm criticizing a jam game for not having much to it, there will be comments that are like, well, they didn't have much time. And I respond by being manage the time. Then manage it. Like then manage your size and scope. We have masterpieces of jam games, and it's not that they're masterpieces because they're huge and ambitious and the developers are just so amazing that they got everything they wanted to get done in 72 hours. No. I guarantee, like Zavas, I guarantee things were cut from that game. You in the first 12 hours, you get together and you go, what's possible, what can be done, and then that's it. And you go off that. And if your size and scope is too big, you will fail every single time. Like it's size and scope, and then you refine. And then once you've got it, you refine the basic building blocks. You can actually see your Instagram. I'm going to put these photos in the video I make, but like you have a ton of photos about the development of Zavos, and it starts with you, like you just have these little. The art wasn't even done yet, which was just like these little colored guys, and you were doing it. But the brilliance of Zavos is the fact that like it feels replayable, and it is so. The mechanics are so well intertwined that it once you start to do it, you reach a rhythm that feels like innate. It almost doesn't. It genuinely feels like you're trying. Like these people are real people that you're trying to satisfy, and like this this thing where it's like I always have to be dancing so that when grandma wants me to eat, I'm hungry. Like and it feels like the other three family members are like less important. Like I can click on the phone real quick, take a selfie, whatever.
Point of grandma is 100% the
The run killer.
focus. We have T-shirts of
I don't care about any of them. The only reason, even the dancing girl, not that hard to satisfy. I only care about her because, like, if I dance, she's satisfied, and I'm hungry enough to eat. And the grandma is like, it killed like two of my runs, and I finally got it. And I finally got it by putting like 90% of my energy into like dance till I'm hungry, eat, dance till I'm hungry, eat. And it was like I figured out the exact notch. It's like slightly above like the 9 o'clock, like 10 o'clock basically is where you can are able to eat again. You can eat all three pieces without having to worry about it, and it's like, oh god, it was just like such a masterpiece of a game. It is just worthy of its own video. It is like from the developer of Sokobomb, Zavos.
I've given talks to students about the importance of polish, and like I you'll see in like in my history that like stopped care didn't care about polish as much, and I slowly cared more and more and more. Some obviously there's some games where I fell off the polish, but like if the intent of going to a game jam is to try to have something that looks like a final product. It doesn't have to play like one. It doesn't have to like have all the bells and whistles of a fully releasable game, but it should still like for what's there needs to feel finished and needs to feel like you could sell it. And Zavos, I think, is the best that we've done that.
And I think that's why
Honestly,
my criticism of Sokobomb looking back was unfair because like I 10 years ago I was used to Game Jam games feeling really polished. Ludum Dare is like has launched dozens of actual video game from successful Ludum Dare games, but in I don't know, in Toe Jam overall there was like a distinct and tangible lack of polish, and so Sokobomb was like it stood out. And there's like five of them that are like feel like they're actually worked on. But I started playing games in previous Toronto jams, and I think that like I just think the state of indie games is changing, and I don't know what exactly it is.
it's the accessibility of like game developing games now has become so accessible, and I do think it's a net positive as a whole. But going back to the whole thing about releasing on Google Play, is that everybody is excited that they're making something. Um, and like all the power to them, but it's tough because not everything needs to be released and not everything needs to be praised. Um, but like it's at the same time, it's I it's bad to dishearten someone who might make something like a masterpiece later down the line. Like I've made like pieces of shit when I was 12, and like I was proud of it at the time, but looking it back at it, it's like that was like such a cringy kid. Um, but like if I didn't go through the rounds of making garbage and then like keep on like being excited enough to keep going, then I would not be a game developer today. So it's like I think a lot of people who are passionate about games and who want to make games and are just starting out, they still do need that encouragement. But it's a tricky thing because they end up flooding marketplaces because it's so accessible and so easy to get onto. Like to get onto Steam, you just have to pay $100. That's all it really takes.
I know, which I think when they announced that, it was this thing where it's like, oh, it's going to be. I remember the discourse at the time was like, it's going to be a huge barrier of entry, and it's like that's about the biggest lie. And that's not.
Yeah, I feel like the green light system worked better, but it did put more load onto like the people who run Steam.
I think that's affecting indies more than anything. Like, I mean, how many games came out on Steam last year?
And like the fact that there's channels on like how to market a game and how to properly sell your game, like is like I love them and they're very helpful for me as someone who's like not the greatest at marketing. But at the same time, this just means there are more people. There's enough people that are actively making games, thinking that they have what it takes to sell it, and they're following these steps, but kind of half-assing it, um, and ultimately flooding markets. And it's a tough thing because, like, yes, we want more games, we want more cheap games, and we want less triple A things that like basically charge you an arm and a leg for like the same game as last year. Because indie games at the end of the day are the more creatives in the market right now. So like, do we want to dishearten a potential indie dev of like having something absolutely creative, or do we want to like gatekeep them now and like just dishearten them so much that they never want to make games again? It's a catch 22. Like I understand the flooding of the market, but like we want more good games, and like indies who are starting it now are going to make indies of tomorrow.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And there's a balance. Thanks for talking to me. I would love to do a part two. Yeah, all of your games. I want to know more about them. I wanted to touch on all this stuff, and there's so much things. I feel like we got more into the culture of indie games, which is like, there was two things I wanted to do was like your history as a game developer and the culture, and this leans toward the culture. So I'd love to follow up on your actual like history of. I would love. I mean, specifically about Sokodice.
Oh man, I have enough. I will send you another link, and you're gonna be like blown up about the more games you have to cover or something. I don't
No,
know.
I mean, yeah, and I want to like, I love covering. It's been my more of my successful videos. I think people just like seeing what jam games are out there, and I'm feeling more comfortable
Mm.
being not mean, but like, critical. I don't mind. In my most recent video, there's like 5 games where I was like, we clearly ran out of time. I don't. It's
And that's valid. That's valid. Just as long as you're not coming
one I had
from
to
mean
download
place.
Python and it didn't run because it needed so I had to like get an older early version of Python because it didn't have an executable, and I was just like, look, I played it, but this was not worth my time. But yeah, thank you, and I will touch base with you and see when we can find another time. But man, just what a great conversation, what a great turn of events, like just a positive thing. And I am really excited to post this on the channel and make people play Zavos, and then I'll promote Sokobomb.
Yeah, if you do a video on it, let me know because it will be. I will show my teammates who worked on that, and they'll be like, they because all of them, everybody who worked on that, absolutely loved that project, and it was a lot of fun to do.
I would love to pitch Sokobomb to people that are not me and say, if you like puzzle games, it's for you, because I think it is a clearly a well designed game.
No pressure. Don't feel obligated.
No, I just think it's like it's more like this developer is a good person that's made a lot of good games, and so like it's worth looking at their chronology. It was a very weird turn of events for me when I played Ortographobia, having zero idea, none, stumbled upon it purely by going through the Games Toronto Game Jam and realized it's the same developer. And I was like, oh, wow, this is the same person. I love this game that I feel like I almost started beef with. Like, it's just like, it was crazy. But thank you. I'll catch up with you. Thank you.
Pleasure.